everybody to tonight's live show, Biodiversity. Each week we're presenting about the hot topics of biodiversity and corporate actions. And tonight's topic is what actions can companies take for the sustainable use of biodiversity resources. And for the topic tonight, we've invited two of our experts as guests, and please welcome our guests with a round of applause. Okay, good afternoon, Melody and Johnny.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, Johnny is a future head of the Biodiversity Institute, and Melody is a future professor of environmental studies. So tonight we have some serious experts, and we're going to discuss this topic with them. Okay, and I'm your show host, Jinan. Okay, let's move on to the topic. Okay, let's start with the most broadest concept. What is biodiversity?
So, according to the International Convention on Biodiversity, biodiversity is defined as the variability of living organisms from all sources. And biodiversity is comprised of three components. So there's ecosystem diversity, species diversity, and genetic diversity. Ecosystem diversity is the variations of ecosystems within a geographical area. Species diversity is the variability of species in specific areas. And lastly, the genetic diversity, which is the most microscopic level of all three, is the differences in DNA, in species and populations.
Okay, so you've introduced us about the three levels of biodiversity, and in my understanding, so we can look at company business cases according to these levels, three levels, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay, then what are some of those business cases, for example, in China, Japan, and Korea? Let's start with ecosystem biodiversity.
Yeah, you talk about China. I would like to first talk about the ant forest. So this is how we use the ant forest. So we enter the ant forest after we paying or walking or taking buses. We can get the energy. So we use the energy. We can choose to protect 1 square meter region, or we can choose to plant a virtual tree. And you can see because I lack of energy, so I cannot to apply to a tree. So after I get enough energy and I plant a virtual tree, the Alipay can help me to plant a real tree in some desert area. So you can see the picture. This one is the Alipay planted trees in this desert area, and this one is not. This can easily see the difference, obviously. So we can see the ant forest. It has a lot of benefits, including calling for a healthier lifestyle and enhancing the country's reputation and so on. And all these benefits can eventually bring more loyal users to the Alipay, and it will definitely increase the use of the ant forest, and also it will increase the use of the other functions of the Alipay. So it seems it's a positive cycle of this mode.
Okay, ant forest. Somehow it sounds familiar to me. But okay, interesting case. And do you have any similar ecosystem level case in other countries?
Oh yes, POSCO is also another great business case on ecosystem diversity. So POSCO is one of the largest steel companies in Korea. And what they do is they use steel slag, which is a byproduct of general iron making. And what they do is they use it to build marine forests. And steel slags have steel slags are very rich in minerals, and it is very effective in promoting the growth and photosynthesis of seaweeds, thus restoring marine organisms and the marine ecosystem.
Okay, thank you, Melody. So let's move on to the species level. Personally, in my opinion, I think this would be one of the most famous and easiest type of biodiversity, right?
Yeah, I think in China, I guess the Baidu case can suitable for this species. And Baidu is a famous country in search machine in China, and also the world's leading AI company. And so what Baidu has done is it started a program named Do I All Things. That means Baidu love all the species. So when we search for some specific words like aerial or bear's paws, and the search result will remind us that please say no to the illegal sale of their wildlife or their products. So I think this action aims to care for the wildlife or opposed to the sale of the wildlife, and which is good for the species diversity.
Okay, it's really interesting to hear that even an internet company can contribute to biodiversity. Okay, you know what? We have breaking news from our correspondent in Japan.
Oh, right.
Okay, let's look at.
Wow.
Move on to Japan. Kengo, do you hear me? What have you got for us today?
It is a corrective application for living animals and plants. And when you find some picture, then take a picture. And it is a definitely plant, so choose plant. And please choose what you found. I think this is correct. And you can write anything about it here. And by posting photo to Biome, you can earn 300 points. Now you have leveled up. And finally, you can make own encyclopedia. This is Biome.
Okay, so basically you take a picture, a photo of a plant, and it tells you what species it is, right? Then what good is it for the
What you
species?
find in Biome can be shared with other users on the Everyone's Encyclopedia. So we can use this Everyone's Encyclopedia as big data. If animal investigator couldn't find animals, they can know where they should protect by using data. Biome's important feature is that everyone can take part in extension of this species diversity by using this app.
Okay, so basically, with this app, anyone can be an animal or plant investigator. I think it's interesting. Thank you for that information. Thank you, Kengo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so far we have talked about the ecosystem and species level cases. And the remaining part is a genetic diversity. And to help your understanding, I did some homework as a host here. There's a Japanese company named Kagome, and it's been working on the genetic resources for years. Basically, it has its own biodiversity policy, and the first principle of it goes like maintenance and utilization of genetic resources. And this company stores over 7,000 types of different seeds of tomatoes, and it also crossbreeds different types of tomatoes for useful for agriculture. And also when it spots a wild type of tomato, it donates that seed into a public research institute so that it can serve as the gene bank. Okay, that was a case from Japan in the genetic level. Do you have other case?
Yes, Amore Pacific, one of the largest cosmetics company in Korea, has made some effort to restore genetic diversity. So what you can see here is a rare Korean flower called Himgamgu that Amore Pacific restored through more than 10 years of continuous research. Amore Pacific also have restored more than 140 rare indigenous bean varieties. By stopping the quick disappearance of these beans, Amore Pacific is continuing to strengthen the resilience of beans in the wild. Moreover, they also have been researching various types of green tea as well.
Okay, so far we have looked into the business cases according to the different levels of biodiversity, namely ecosystem, species, and genetic level. So these are what they have been doing. Now let's talk about the future. What are the takeaways from these cases? To be specific, what do you think is the most important thing that companies need to consider when it comes to biodiversity? Any suggestions?
Yeah, I think the online and offline collaboration may be important. So we can learn from the rainforest case. Like, for example, the country can build up an online platform for public. And if the people buy products from the company or use their service, and they can get some points to play games in this platform. And after collecting enough points or researching some certain results, and they can like planting trees, feeding birds, and cleaning the ocean. So finally, the company can help these customers to, in reality, plant trees, feed birds, and clean the ocean. So I think the benefits is not only raise the public awareness about the biodiversity conservation, it also inspire the people to buy their products, and it will bring incomes to the company. And also, it will increase their social responsibility and social image of the company.
Collaboration between online and offline companies. It sounds interesting to me. And I think it could possibly open up a whole new variety of opportunities for example, IT companies and internet-based or even game-making companies. Okay, so Melody, do you have any suggestion?
Yes, speaking of collaboration, I like to suggest the collaboration between companies in different sectors and industries. So one possibility can be the joint effort between monitoring technology companies and big data companies. So monitoring technology companies can provide drones, satellites, or a remote sensing technology and more to collect data on biodiversity. And big data companies can then analyze these data and provide a platform that can track biodiversity levels in certain areas. And if we expand this collaboration a bit further, we can add in, research institutes as an actor, and it will be possible to make a comprehensive encyclopedia on biodiversity and endangered species.
Okay, collaboration amongst the sectors and industries was interesting. So today we have had a rich discussion under the topic Corporate Actions for Sustainable Use of Biodiversity Components. And we had talked about 6 cases from different countries, and our experts gave suggestions, namely collaborations. Okay, that's it for today's show, and thank you for coming out. Thank you. This was your live show by Thank you for watching us tonight, and have a good evening. Thank you very much. Thank you.